Hello, everyone. My name is Suzanne George. I am here and excited to present to you all about teams. We are going to kind of walk through a couple of tips and tricks that are really for the rest of us, all of the administrators and others who may be doing advanced development and programming. That's great. But what about us who just want to use Teams and maybe we're being introduced to Teams for the very first time? So I'm hoping you're going to be excited to learn a few things about Teams that you can do right straight out of the box. It doesn't require any development or coding. So first things first, before we get started, let's just talk about the SharePoint conference. I was very excited to present last year on Microsoft Bing and Search. So I really hope that everyone goes to the Microsoft Collaboration and Search conference that's in MGM in Las Vegas. The next is thank you very much to our sponsors, Proficient, AppPoint, KWiz, Valo, Pointfire. All of these are fantastic companies. Definitely take a look at their website, and thank you very much for providing sponsorship for us. And finally, let me just take a few minutes to tell you my name. My name is Suzanne. You can always reach out to me via Twitter, SPGenie, or SharePoint Genie, because I've done SharePoint ever since it came out way back when, and I have now made the leap and transition over to Teams. I am a chief architect at Cognizant. Our main organizations that we work with are generally very large, very small, all over the place, many different verticals. And basically, our goal is to help people and educate people on how to use Teams. I personally have a garden and I make cupcakes. I am all into herbs and veggies right now. So outside in my garden, you'll find tomatoes and basil and more rosemary than I know what to do with. And anybody who needs anything to do with mint and any sort of drinks that mint has, I have tons of mint. So please feel free to give me a ping on Twitter and I'll be happy to give you some mint. Last but not least, my focus area is Office 365 and anything with Teams. So I'm in contact daily or weekly or maybe multiple times a day with the team product group, trying to stay up with all of the changes that are happening with Teams. And I can tell you that there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe. Finally, I am from Texas. We are still sitting here at home. Get to go outside this last weekend a little bit. I'm hoping everyone is able to go outside, see the sun, get a little bit of sunshine, and then stay safe. Please do that. So there is a raffle. Fill out the HTTP URL right there. You need 5 answers to correct the get the chance to win. But these devices are really awesome. I was doing a little bit of searching around to see if I were wanting to get one of these, and definitely these are very cool. My nephew has a previous version of this and he absolutely loves it, so I got to go play with it, and definitely fill out the raffle. So let's just jump right into Teams. One of the things that we know, or the pre-Teams, if you will, environment really is a couple of challenges that we all face. Some of them are lack of collaboration, some are lack of communication, and now that we've all been sent home, we can't really walk down the hall, have that conference room, stare at people, make sure they're doing what they need to do. And how do we effectively provide that collaboration, and how do we really get people to become productive? Because if they're not happy and they're not productive and they're feeling isolated, that sense of community is something that is really needed, especially when we all went home very quickly overnight, seemingly. There's a lot of challenges around knowledge management. How do I find stuff? Who do I go talk to? Especially since I'm at home, we're in a very large organization, and I can tell you finding things has been a opportunity in patience, because we're trying to go to this portal and that portal and the internet and over here and Bing search, and we just don't know exactly where to find everything. And now that we're starting to figure that out, that's really great. But we're figuring out that once we have found something, that we can share it with others and actually link it over into Teams. And we're going to show you some of that today, and how to really harness knowledge as you find it so that you can share that knowledge with others. Operational silos across the organization. Many small and large organizations have this type of a problem. How do I break through that? These artificial barriers or silos. Hey, I know what I'm doing. I know what this part is. I know what my piece is. But how do I get that global single pane of glass experience that I'm really looking for? Personalized experiences, really, I think the challenge, especially when we come home, is I really want to feel that sense of community. I want to feel an affinity with my organization. And before we have teams, we didn't have that really personalized experience and how to see what I needed to see. And finally, unattainable, maintained, stable, consistent performance. I'm a very big advocate of doing 150%, doing 100%, really taking my work to the next level. And how can I do that? And how can I increase my peers and get them to stay, because I want to keep my circle of friends that I really like. So with all of these are the problems that we had before teams. And I hope by the time we finish our session today, some or all of these will be realized and you'll see how teams can help you overcome them. So let's first just take a quick glance through teams. I don't want to, regurgitate what many other speakers have been talking about, but I do want to highlight a couple of things. One is, this is how Teams looks in your organization. You may have more things along the left-hand rail. This is this part right here, where it says activity, chat, teams, meetings. You may have more things here and you may have less. And if you are an influencer in your organization, such as corporate media or communications or marketing or maybe learning, this is something that you're really going to want to talk to your IT department about. How do we start changing what's inside this left-hand rail, because we can actually affect it. And I'm going to show you how you can do that here today. And then up here on the top, you have the search bar. You have actually invite people to chat button right there, start a new chat. You have your command box, which is this here. And then you have your personal information over on the right-hand side. This main panel in the middle is where you're going to find all of your actionable content, Power BI, planner, tasks, content, files, conversations. All of those things are going to be located in this main panel. And this is where we'll be spending a lot of our time today, as well as over here on the left-hand bar, which is where if I'm clicking on one of these action buttons, such as Teams, I will actually see the teams and how can I manage that more effectively. So jumping to one of the biggest questions that we get a lot is, when do I create a team? How do I organize my team? What needs to be where? It's really a big question. And organizations that have Office 365, you have many different options to choose from. You have SharePoint, you have Yammer, you have Teams, you have all of these different opportunities to have conversations with people. You have Stream and Sway and Power App portals. You have all of these things. So what exactly can I do? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a best practice that we use when we're helping organizations and even internally come up with, when do I use Teams and when should I not use Teams? And if we think of our organization like a pyramid, you have the top level, which is the company section, which is really around global communications, those sorts of things, communities that are very large in structure. Those things are going to be more hub sites, SharePoint sites, large scale Yammer groups, that sort of thing. Really larger, I'm going to shout to the world. I want everyone to hear, or if you don't want to hear, that's okay. But I want to tell everybody about it. I want to give everybody the opportunity. So large scale surveys, feedback, intranet portals, all of those things should probably sit either in Yammer or your company intranet. But as you start drilling down into the micro communities, such as a division and a department, you may have a more formal facing division site, which is sitting in your intranet. But you may want to have a more collaborative division site that is a team, so that you can talk more privately, rally around topics, rally around information, have those all hands meetings handled right out of Teams, but yet have the, overall public facing version out on the intranet. Department sites, the same thing. You may have a department site out on your public intranet. You may even have a Yammer group for large mass scale conversations that anybody can participate in, or maybe even have it as a limited group. But those community conversations, how can we have those team meetings, department-wide meetings, department-wide information, department surveys, department initiatives, things like banners and good jobs and those kinds of things. Those things would probably better be served out of a team that has that kind of focus. And then finally, the work groups, where we're actually going to be building and rallying around a specific topic, like a bike club or a HR site or digital HR or R&D, any of those kinds of work group kind of things you're going to have. You'll have many, many, many of those, and all of those should probably be teams. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of an overview of when to create a team, when maybe to use another or a different workload, because remember, Teams does have a maximum limit of the number of users. And in our organization, it is actually a factor because we have over 50,000 people in a single department in this particular pyramid. So that makes it a bit of a struggle to put everybody in the department inside a single team. Your organization may be smaller and you can put everybody in the division inside of a team. You may be so small you can put everyone in a company inside teams. And that number is changing. Originally, it was a pretty small number, and now that number is increasing. And as they are working through all of Microsoft, works through all of the various different items and issues, that number is probably going to increase even more. We're doing some testing on a very, very large team right now with Microsoft, but so be looking forward to some changes there. So let's think about a team and how I might structure this team on a product development. So product engineering is my team here, and I have a whole lot of different channels. I have a general channel that has my Scrum meetings, roles for everyone, my training videos, onboarding, offboarding, those kinds of general types of information that I need everyone to understand. Hey, you need to do all of this. This is the forms that you need to fill out. These are, requests for desktop, laptop, whatever might need to be there as far as general. But then we have other things that are more specific that I, depending on my role, may or may not decide that I am interested in. So if I am a product manager inside product engineering, I'm very interested in the product releases. When are they going to actually be doing? What are the specifications? Any sort of meetings that we might have, the Scrum meetings, daily stand-ups, 4Blocker, external meetings. Those kinds of things are really going to be important for me. However, if I were a developer, or maybe I were a research analyst, I would be really interested in Power BI dashboards, maybe some bug trackers, conversations about how we're going to actually fix bugs or maybe fix different issues that we may be having inside this particular team. And then maybe we have some feedback. How do we, after each major sprint or group time period that we're using to build the particular whatever it is that we're working on, I may need to get some information on feedback. How do we prioritize the next batch of things that we're going to be focusing on as we near the end of our sprint? And then maybe I even need some information from outside the organization, search conversations, maybe outside even the organization as a whole. Maybe I want to go out to Bing and get a connector and put some stuff in there. We're actually going to showcase how to do some of this today. And then finally, maybe I want to do what is my go-to-market plan for this particular engineering effort? Marketing, HR, are we ready? Do we have everything that we need? What are those checklists that we have to do? So if I'm a marketing analyst, I'm really interested in the go-to-market. And then finally, a product analyst, maybe I'm interested in more dashboards. So this is a very easy way for you to you can take this template and say, how do I apply this to me? Maybe I'm inside marketing, maybe I'm digital HR. Many of these categories, you can change the names just slightly, but the intent should still be there. And this will help you get your team started day one. Now, if I wanted to do an organizational team versus a project team, which we just saw, I might arrange things just slightly different. I would have my organization at the top level with my team name. I probably would want to name it a special predefined structure. So my organizational abbreviation with my longer description after, something that we would decide as an organization. I may want to have specific channels that are doing each of the divisions inside that particular organization. And then maybe we would have different tabs inside those channels that talk about the files, the information, the notes, the reoccurring meetings, any sort of application that's maybe something specific to our area of inside the organization. So for example, if I were a sales team and we were the Northwest sales team, we'll be out of Washington State, I may have a general channel just for onboarding, who's who, how do I get some training, but I might also have account plans, strategic accounts. Here's where you're going to go get those account information, links out to our CRM systems, maybe even application integration with my CRM systems. How do you get those sales SOWs? How do I do default templates for presentations? All that sort of thing I might find. Who are my key people for all of the different accounts? And then maybe there's even a help. If I'm a brand new salesperson, what are all those things that I might need? There might be the help me channel that says, I'm just brand new to the organization. I'm going to go meet Microsoft this week. I really need some help and understanding on how to get some conversation started. So can you please kind of help me figure this out? And maybe I need to get my deal reviewed, or maybe there's an approval process that happens behind the scenes. I may have to fill out a form to say, hey, I've got this deal. Here's all the information. It's all sitting in Teams. And here's some approval process I may put in there. And we may also have some pricing guides and brochures and marketing things that are very important for sales teams. So you can imagine if this were an HR team, or if this were a consulting team, or any other sort of organizational team, you would be able to see what kind of how to organize everything. So if we take it just one step further and say, okay, I'm ready to do Teams, but how do I connect my Teams to other things? Or what does this look like? Well, there's a couple different types of teams that we've seen in many, many different organizations. There are sales teams that are maybe sales meetings oriented, pipeline reviews, sales playbooks, different types of application integrations that you can use, such as Power BI, Trello, CRM. Bots are very, very popular right now, and they're pretty easy to stand up. Event planning, which is in marketing and logistics and venues and budgets, linking out to things like Facebook and Twitter and Planner to track all of our tasks, and doing some Adobe work or PDF integration. That's very popular. You may also want to put into there some YouTube and streams and Twitter and different things to help with your event, to make sure that you're getting the right traction that you need. So the one thing that I want to emphasize is, as you start building your teams, really think about all of the different ways that you're going to have conversations with people and how you can easily integrate them with whatever you have going on. So if we were to take this and do a quick demo, let me see if I can bring up my team here. There's a couple things I want to show you. So let me go to my teams. I have what you might see when you see Teams for the very first time. You may or may not have a couple of teams already started, and that's okay. Maybe you have no teams already started. And what you really want is a whole bunch of conversations. See all this stuff? I have a lot of conversations in Teams. But what I'd like to do is show you some of those hidden features that you may or may not know about that are really going to help you elevate your usage of Teams. Because when you start seeing that you have this many teams to start working through, you're going to go, where is my stuff? I can't find it. How do I promote it? How do I see it? How do I not see it? It's showing up. It's not showing up. So let's take a moment to just look at this left-hand pane where all of my teams are. And if I notice on the 3 dots here, I have a couple of action items that I can do. One of them is hide. So if I were to hide it, immediately it goes away from my focus. So when I come in the morning, I have just the exact teams that I want to see. However, if I were to take a look at this team down here that I have, this DevOps team, notice it has a ton of channels, but I really don't want to see all of that. Remember, I'm just maybe the project manager. I can take this and I can do what's called pin. And when I pin this up to the top, well, let's see if it'll try to get, let's try this one more time. Okay, it might take it just a minute. Here we go. Now it's pinned. See right here? It took it just a minute, but now I have specific channels that are pinned that I am focused on. Those are the things that I really want to understand what's happening. Maybe I'm interested in what's going on with Jenkins, or maybe some sort of build. And I can just quickly click on it, and right there at the top of my screen, and everything that I need to see is easily accessible. So pinning and unpinning is something that you really do want to take a look at and see how you can use this to make sure that when you're coming in during your day, you are super focused on exactly what you need to work on. Another thing that you might want to think about is your activity feed. And the activity feed has a lot of information around what generally is happening on the teams that you're participating in. But I would encourage you to think about how you might do some sort of filters and sorts. One of them is by using @mentions. So if I have @mentions as my filter, immediately I can go, I had a conversation with Ramesh last week. I can't remember what it was. Can you please remind me? I think it had something to do with Jenkins. I just can't remember. I can do it @mention because he mentioned me, and I can quickly click on it and it will immediately take me to that particular element that I was looking for. So that's something that you might want to consider. Other things in your filter, you might want to look at things that you haven't read. I know that every morning the first thing I do is come in and look at my unread items, things that are here in bold, or I can click here and see these are unread. Other things that I might want to do are check my voicemail, look at different apps, what's going on. Maybe I need to look at some replies. What are things that I have replied to? Maybe I need to go focus around that. So these filters are actually really helpful in the way to make sure that you're seeing what you need to see and exactly when you need to see it. Remember I told you about the left-hand bar, this left-hand bar right over here, things that you might want to look at if you're part of HR, or maybe you're wanting to build a knowledge solution for the organization. Maybe you want to do some quick communications. You can actually put a Power App or any sort of application that's a Teams-enabled app into the left-hand bar. This could be your corporate intranet. So if your corporate intranet, you want to be first thing that the person sees when they come into Teams, such as up here, you can have intranet here, and then that when they open up Teams, they would be able to see it right away. I'm going to open up the crisis communication app. This particular app is an accelerator. It is free from Microsoft for you to download and install into your Teams. It will require a little bit of IT support, but the nice thing is it gives you a facility to go make specific requests, to share people's status, to really get emergency contacts. And you can change up all of these elements instead of saying, hey, make a request specific to crisis communication. Maybe you want to rename this to digital HR launch. And if people want to ask a question about the launch, they can click to make the request. Or maybe instead of emergency contacts, you could actually change this to say point of contact or initiative contacts, or news. Instead of just company news, you would actually put in here, hey, this is news around what we're seeing on Twitter or what we're seeing on Facebook or whatever the initiative is that you're actually working on. So I would suggest you take a look at this bot, really think about how you can make it your own. It is a Power App, so it's pretty easy for you to download, install, make changes to, and then talk with your IT organization to go ahead and put it over here in the left-hand bar. So definitely take a look at this. You can just find this on the Microsoft site. So let's take a moment and just look around Teams and see what we can do inside of a channel. So I have a general channel here, and remember I have all of these different team members. I have a private channel here for managers because I have specific costing and pricing and budget information that I do not want everyone else in my communications organization to see. So I have some, specific files in here that may be, pardon me, didn't click. Specific files here that may be something that I do not want everyone to see. So these are very private, only certain people can see them. However, I have communication events or team activities that can be everyone inside the team can see. But maybe I need to get in touch with someone. So let's say I'm in communications and I want to say, hey, Rich, what do you think of the new page? So I'm going to go, hey, Rich, what do you think of the new page? And Rich will, when tomorrow or the next day, whenever he sees this, he's going to actually log in and he'll be able to reply. Notice he's able to see this new page that I have just created. And I called it home and I created a news channel. And these are something that are right inside our SharePoint site that we have built. So when I click on news, it provides me the key news that's happening inside the site, and I can do home and we can take a look at it, decide, does this work for us? Do we need to make some changes? How are we feeling about the particular updates that we're making? And then we can go ahead and publish those onto the internet. But maybe I have another person, Ramesh, and I need to say, hey, Ramesh, I really need to understand a specific component on the web page. Please take a look at news. And he can go and say, well, what do you mean by news or anything like that? But maybe I want to reach Rich and Ramesh, but not everyone else in the team. So there's a nifty trick that you can do when you do a managed team. You can come over and under members here, if you are the owner, there is this column called tagging. And if I only wanted to notify when I tag the developers of this particular site, I could call this the dev team. So I'm going to create a dev team tag. And then maybe I will create a test team tag. And I can add as many people as I want. So I'll make myself part of the dev team tag. So let me apply that. Now I have people that are tagged. And if I go into the communication events channel, watch what I can do with @mention. Now @mention is a way I can either reach out to a specific person, I can reach out to a group of people, I can reach out to the entire team. So I could say, hey, communications events. So communications. Communications channel. I just want to reach out to this channel. Please take a look, right? Or I could come in here and I could say @mention dev team, right? Because I don't only want to highlight and have people go into their activity pane, check out the release. And then what will happen is in the activity feed over here, remember where we had the activity feed, it will actually open and say, hey, look, you have a new conversation inside the activity feed. So when you're doing @mentioning, remember you can @mention a team, you can @mention a set of people in your team, especially when you have 150, 200, maybe even 1,000 people in a team. Maybe you only have 20 people in a team, but you don't want to notify everyone in the team every time. And you don't want to have to go remember @mention one person, @mention the second person, @mention the third person. You can group them together and do them through the @mentioning of a tag. So @mentioning is actually very helpful and good to know when you're trying to use your teams. Other things that you can do besides linking into your SharePoint sites is you can link into search. So right here, I have searched into Bing. This is an external search looking for teams because maybe that's what this team is about, how to do different chats, meetings, collaborations, because that's what we're trying to work on. That's our initiative right now, how to get people to use Teams. And so we want to have that as our default search so that we can find it. But note if I search on Teams in Bing, if my organization has Bing at Work enabled, I can click on Work tab and it will show me all of the internal documents in all of Office 365 that have to do with that keyword. So let's imagine we have a new launch initiative and this new initiative is called deploying teams. And deploying teams, we want to know who's got you teams, who's using teams, who's have been using it in the past, who's using OneDrive, are there any other documents out there to make sure that our messaging is very clear. Using the Work tab and Bing search for Office 365 will allow me to see both external results and internal results at the same time. Other things that we can do is link to our corporate intranet because maybe we want in our team activities to showcase a landing site or a landing page. This particular page is just a SharePoint site that we have labeled as a intranet page. It has a whole bunch of information around COVID because that's what we want to make sure is highlighted to our users of this team because this is the communications that we are wanting to ensure has a very clear message. We have specific people that we're using and highlighting here security, HR, that sort of thing on how to help. And this is very important for us as this particular communications program initiative gets launched. Now, there are some other things that we can do out of the box. besides this, we can actually add a planner. So let's say I'm going to go back to my communication events, and I'm thinking maybe I need to add some tasks for our team to actually work on. So I'm going to add a new channel, and I'm going to call this program tasks, because I want to put in here things that are like our 4-blocker. Maybe I want to put in the use cases. Maybe I want to put in the different tasks that people are working on. Maybe I want to link to Jira, or maybe I want to link to our program plan, or maybe we have Project Online, or maybe we're using Smartsheet, or who knows what we might be using. But I'd like to be able to integrate them. And what I can do is I can click the plus button here, and will allow me a whole bunch of extra stuff to do. Now, your organization may not have all of these extras. You may only see the things up here at the top. Our organization, we only see these things up at the top because those are the only ones that have been authorized. But your organization may also have a couple of other things that they have authorized that you can also link to. We're just going to go ahead and choose a planner, because this is how we're going to manage and monitor our tasks, making sure that everybody is on schedule. So if we click here, I'm going to create a new tab. I'm going to call it tasks. If I had already had one, I could click existing tasks and choose it from there. I'm going to go ahead and save it. It'll take just a moment for it to open. Now I have my tasks. Now, in this particular view of my tasks, I will be able to see just basic cards, very simple buckets to do items. So I can create a new bucket. These are completed, and maybe we have some that are backlog. Maybe we'll have a backlog. And I can add a task, and I can say to do item 1. And I can set a new date and even assign it to someone. So this is a very, very simple project plan. And I can say here, we're going to assign that there. Go ahead and add a task under the backlog, and we'll assign backlog task and assign that to me. Now there's some other things that we can do that are a little bit more advanced. If you look over here on the right-hand side, there's a couple of things that you can do. Remember, I said we probably want to create a daily Scrum meeting, or our monthly meetings or weekly meetings or check-ins, or however you want to do it. Right here on the right-hand side is a meet button. And I have 2 options. I can meet now, or I can schedule a meeting. So if I want to schedule that weekly or daily Scrum, we'll just call this the daily Scrum, so that everyone in the team can come to this particular, let's see. And I'll say Rich. I could actually put the entire team from all of the team here, and it would automatically figure that out. I'll say, hey, this is a good time, 10 to 10:30 p.m. It's going to repeat every weekday, Monday through Friday. And we will add some details, daily Scrum. And one of the things that you'll see here is these 2 are dim, meaning that they are available. But if the scheduling assistant says they are not available, they will actually turn yellow. So if you see I'm here, I'm not part of the meeting, so it doesn't turn yellow. But now let's add me to the meeting. Notice I turned, turned red. So I turned red because I actually have a conflict at that exact time, but these 2 do not. I'm going to go ahead and say, yes, that's fine, and send this calendar invite out now that we have our daily Scrum. So every day at this time, 10 p.m., it's actually going to open up a call to this channel and say, hey, everyone needs to join the daily Scrum. If I'm on my phone, if I'm on my desktop, it doesn't matter. It's going to be able to notify me, and I'll be able to see it. Other things I can do is actually go to the website. That globe icon that I clicked on right here, this one here, this globe here, will actually take you to the website. And the website will allow me to do other things, such as see some charts, check out schedules, those kinds of things. And if I take this link, this link here, because maybe this is actually exactly what I want to put this schedule in my team, I can click on the plus button. This time I'm going to choose a website. And you can use this for most websites that are HTTPS. So I'm going to click on paste, save. Now what it's going to do is it's actually going to show me that schedule page. So if I have a external program, maybe I'm using some sort of CRM system, maybe it's something else, and I want to start linking those in, you can link them in and they will show up here in the main browser. This is taking just a minute for it to load. So one last thing that I want to show you real quick is a little bit of an advanced feature, but still absolutely doable within Office 365 and your standard user access. And it's called adaptive cards. So when something happens on your site or in your SharePoint list, you can actually have it do something such as request status. So remember, I'm still my program manager. I have my manage my programs. And I would like to create an adaptive card that says, I want to know for this particular element, what is your status? And maybe I want to send this out every week. I want to have a card. I want to mention someone, hey, what is your status? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this URL, adaptivecards.io. It's a very easy way for you to build out a very simple or even more advanced adaptive card. You just GUI click here. I put in ABC here. I can change my placeholder to ABCD. I can do different things. I can say, what is your status for your red, yellow, or green? And then I take this JSON down here and I can select it all and copy. And then I will go to my flow. Now this is flow.microsoft.com. It's part of your Office 365. And I can see that I have a bunch of different flows. And I have this one that I have just created. We're going to walk through it. So this particular flow is very, very simple. It says when an item is created in a SharePoint list. So I do have a SharePoint list in my team. When an item is created, I want you to put an adaptive card and wait for a response. Meaning I want someone to actually respond to me and tell me what the status is. So I always have the latest status. I don't want to have to go finding out what's the status of whatever it is. And then I wanted to update that list so that my content is always up to date. So let's take a look really quickly at a deep dive. This is the URL of my team that I have created right here. This URL here, this one. And the URL says my project team, and it says the list that I'm actually going to work on is project updates. When the list item is added or updated, or maybe it could be this runs every Friday. Every Friday you want this particular flow to run. Here's that adaptive card JSON that I put in. I did do a little bit of extra here because I wanted to put a list item. It says the title, and I'll show you how that comes through. But all you do to create something like this, I'll just delete it so you can see, is in the JSON at this exact little spot that we saw in my adaptive card. Remember I showed you the ABC? Right here, this placeholder, I come over here and I find ABC. This is what it looked like when I started. I remove that and I change and come over here and drag down to title. And I add that. Now it's going to replace the title from ABC. At the end, what I wanted to do is to update. So I wanted to go back to my project team, to my list project tables. The ID is the same, the title is the same, but I wanted to put the update from my adaptive card. And the update is called status update. So over here in your designer, you'll see right here where it says red, yellow, and green. Down here, you'll see the ID is called status update. You're going to call this whatever you want it to be and put it here. And then you'll go save. Once you save it, now it's ready to run. So if I opened up a new tab to my SharePoint site, and I click on the team, or excuse me, the list, taking it a minute, and we will click on our project updates. I'll add a new item. And I'll say SharePoint update 5. Now what's going to happen in a few minutes is on my team, it's going to actually pop in and it's going to ask me to decide which of these statuses I want to choose. And when I choose one and hit submit, the list item will get updated with the actual status that I chose. So prior, I chose yellow. I hit the submit button and I can go ahead and do that. So the important thing is this is completely doable. I had a BA go and do the adaptive cards just to see if he could figure it all out. He was able to figure it out. So this is something that's more of a configuration rather than a development. And once you start figuring out how to do some of these automated processes inside your team, it really elevates what you can do. Now there's many, many, many more things that you can do with Teams other than what I've shown you today, but I'm hoping this will give you some good ideas around different things that you can give a try to, and maybe it'll even inspire you to go learn more about how you can do more advanced things. So what are some best practices that we've actually seen in the industry? One of them is just starting with chat. Go invite a friend, day one. Go talk to people, go make a team, go get people to rally around a bike club, a organizational piece of information, any of those kinds of things. If you can talk to one person, that one person is going to talk to one person, and the next thing you know, all of your community is going to be having chat conversations. Using the desktops and the mobile clients, put Teams everywhere. Make it one click away from wherever you are, and have your teams and the people that you directly interact with, make it one click. Because one of the things that I will find is we worked on a worldwide team. We had 10 people. Everyone was in a different country in 6 or 5 different time zones. Nobody knew where everybody was, but we did know where the call everyone or chat or meet now or get in touch. We could always get in touch with the other person, and it was made the project go much smoother, and the client was at the end of the day very happy. Plan your teams. Figure out what you want to do. I showed you at the beginning a little bit of how to figure out what the right tribes are, the right communities, the right things that you're going to rally around, and make sure that you have, kind of contained. You saw where I had like 100 teams there. It's very difficult to manage when you have hundreds and hundreds of teams. Really focus on those 6 or 7, pin them up to the top that you need to check on and be more active. If you find you're getting a lot of teams, maybe it's time to revisit the types of teams that you have. Next, put channels in your teams. We showed you how to do a bunch of different channels and announcements and automatic bots, including into your teams. It's okay to do the like buttons. Some people like GIFs, some organizations turn them off, but really encourage conversation and really have fun with your team. Some of our teams we have like joking around teams where we're all just joking around, finding out. The only conversation you can have is with a Giphy or a sticker. And so everybody has conversations and you have to try to figure out what they were trying to say with their stickers. And it's really fun way to encourage participation in your teams. And I didn't show this to you, but you can forward your emails into a channel in Teams. You right click on your channel, you say grab the team email. You can email all of the information from your email into Teams, so that way you can reduce your email. Other things you can think about is Microsoft Teams is really available across all devices. It's Windows, it's Mac, it's iOS, it's Android. I use about 5 different devices. Types ranges from phones to tablets to all kinds of stuff, laptops, multiple laptops. And the nice thing is when I get a message, it comes across on all of my devices. And no matter if I'm walking the dog, or I'm sitting in my desk, or I'm away in the backyard. If it's during working hours, it's really easy for me to access and get that information as if I were sitting at my desk. It gives me a little bit more freedom to not be sitting at my desk at all the times. So next thing I want to say is just thank you so much for joining us. I hope you learned something today around Teams. Again, we're really all about what can I do out of the box without having to do much coding or development. So I would consider, I know that we've talked a little bit about COVID and the impact of COVID and how everyone is being sent home, but if you can vote, or take a look at the United Way, the International Medical Corps, or even your own internal or your own local neighborhood community. I'm very involved in our neighborhood community. We're actually doing, senior drives and senior dinners and getting and retrieving things for different seniors. So be involved, be, helping your neighbors, be a good, be a great citizen, and wherever you may be. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that we have just a couple minutes. I'll check the chat window and see if there are any conversations that we might want to answer here. I don't see any chats, but thank you so much for coming and joining us today. I really appreciate it, and please do continue to watch this conference. It has been absolutely fabulous. I've watched several sessions already, and each one I have learned something